Alright, so this is the setup that I use for fast Fronkey walk. The gist of it is, in order to guarantee that you don't get terrain ramped on the last dash over there when you're dash gliding up to the wall, you want to start your first dash. It's 4 dashes total. You want to start the first one from a consistent position, and then you want to make sure the 3 subsequent dashes are all buffered. So the way I do it is, you'll notice when you spam tapping in a direction, Ori's ears will start to flop around like this. If you do it too fast, you'll notice that there's barely just like a couple pixels of ear that you can see in front of his face, like right in front of his eye there. But if you do it at a slightly slower rhythm, you can see more ear. You kind of want it to be at about this rhythm, so you can see about that much ear in front of his face. So after you land here, I walk up to this twig, this vertical twig that's coming out of the log, and then I start to inch towards it, and as soon as you can see his ear on the right side of this twig, you want to stop moving. So like that. And it's not too precise, it's actually pretty forgiving. It can be a couple taps in either, like you can be a couple taps later and it'll still work. Mainly you don't want to be too far to the left because then you'll risk getting the terrain ramp. You also don't want to be too far to the right because then you can also get ramp, but more likely you will not magnet all of the experience. The thing about this strat is that while it is by far the most consistent setup that I have, it can get screwed by RNG. So there's 10 total experience drops. There's 9 single experience, and then the one that gives 10. The way most of the time what happens is one of those experience orbs won't get magneted, or fairly often one of them won't be. And since there's 9 of the small ones, most of the time it'll just be one of the small ones. So the way I deal with that is I just make sure I always have 42 experience going into Blackroot Burrows. If you have 44 or 43, then you know that you'll have to kill a spore on the way out, or kill the slime. I actually prefer to kill the slime because if you kill a spore down there, you've already spawned the slime, and it makes it a lot harder to dash glide over him because he moves further to the left when you're picking up that experience. But yeah, if the experience that falls on the far left happens to be the 10 experience, then you're just screwed. So this does fail to RNG like 10% of the time or so. But sometimes, depending on your positioning and depending on how the drops fall, you can still pick up all of them. But yeah, so you land here, nudge your way until you can see his ear, and then just like that. If you listen to the rhythm of me hitting the inputs for the dash versus the sound of the dash actually going off, you can hear it's almost like almost, how much time is that in between? It's like 2/3 of the way in between each dash I input the next dash, because you really don't want any of those subsequent dashes to not be buffered, because then you can be walking for however many number of frames during that period of time at full speed, and that will completely screw your positioning that you set up here, and you will most likely get terrain ramped over there. So you always want to start from this location that you use the ear flopping visual cue for, and then do 4 dashes, and all but the first one should be buffered. And this gets the dash through the air here like 99% of the time for me. Some of the time it doesn't, but even then sometimes I'll still be able to make it in time, just because this setup also puts the Fronkey as far right as possible, when he lands on the bramble there, so it's also the safest setup in that regard. So after you get this part down, then you'll want to practice it with the Fronkey. So the way I do the walk, once he gets like around here where you know he's going to have one more jump and then he'll kind of get stuck in here or land on this log if you go full speed, you want to stand right here on this ledge here to the right of these flowers, but you don't want to go down in. You don't want to go too far to the right here. You kind of want to just be right to the right of these flowers, and then wait for the Fronkey to jump. Once you wait for the Fronkey to jump, then you jump out of the way. Once you do that, he'll land here, and then he'll slide down into this pit. And then once you land up here on this log, you kind of want to just wait just for a little bit, not even a half second, just to ensure that you are maintaining aggro on the Fronkey. And what this does is this gets him right in the perfect spot to make this position here still magnet the experience, because this just happens to be like the sweet spot for not getting terrain ramped. So I also like to shoot him when he lands these 2 times, just to make sure you don't run into any line of sight issues. So wait for him to jump here. So there you saw the far left experience was a 1, so I was able to get by with just getting 18. But yeah, this is the most consistent setup by far that I've came up with. It can get RNG'd from time to time. Sometimes you might still get terrain ramped if you fail a buffer dash or if your initial positioning isn't on point. But even then, you can still make it if your movement is good.